There we go. And we got somebody joining too. So, okay. Now I'm recording. All right. So just so that you have those drawn on there, that you don't accidentally paint over those and have to wait for it to dry. So it's just gonna make it a lot easier for you. And my canvas isn't the same size as yours, but it'll still work. So you really don't have to draw the window because you can always paint that later. But this was just a printout that I did. So we'll just draw the mug first, and it's 3D so that you can see inside the hot chocolate, and then just where you're gonna stop with your where your table is going to be at. So the mug, right, it's going to just be starting out with an oval, and my pencil's super, super tiny. This is going to be hard to do. Start with an oval for the top of the mug, right? And then come down straight with 2 vertical lines. And I don't even have an eraser. I might make this a little bit smaller. And since you're going to be painting, you can always trim it up if you don't like it. Bring it down for the sides, and then a curved line for the bottom. So it almost looks like a tin can to start out with. All right, so that's the first step for this. All right, and then we'll just draw the handle on here. All right, and it really doesn't matter which side you prefer. You could, you know, if you're right-handed or left-handed, that's really up to you. But it's just a curved kind of like ear on the side of it, but then you have to do 2 of them so that you have the space to put your hand through it, right? And so that's just the simple part of the mug, right? And mine's even a little bit different shape than this original one, which is perfectly fine. But then you need the line to tell you where to stop with the sky on the background and to put to the table. So this is just the first part here. All right, and see, this is why I did this. That way I can see. We have little people sneaking in here. All right. Okay, so for those of you, all right, I'll kind of just make sure just either you can like maybe write in the chat, let me know if you're good to go on to the next step. So that way I don't just, you know, get super fast ahead of some of you. But just start out, we're just drawing our mug and the table that it's sitting on. And then we're gonna go to the backgrounds. So our background will be our sky. So I'm gonna use blue with some whites in it to kind of give it that color. But you guys can paint the sky whatever color you want. If you want a sunset back there, anything. It's just very simple blue with white, and it's got snow in it as well. So depending on what color you want it, right, you can have a little, add different colors. And oh, my painter's just right in front of me. Imagine that. Okay, and so you guys normally have 3 paintbrushes. Mine aren't exactly the same size, but they're pretty close, I think. So you'll just use your big paintbrush to kind of block that out. And then you can use your small paintbrush to kind of trim around your pieces. And even if you paint, I'm sorry, I'm cutting out of focus because my hand's going. If you paint over this, you can always go back because we're going to do the bug last. So you'll always go back and be able to trim that out. All right. Is everybody with me okay so far?
No.
I hope. So I'm just going to go ahead and start laying in my sky here. And in the directions, it had to do the trees next, but I'm not going to do the trees next. I'm actually going to do the table. And I might even want to bring my mug down because my table, I want to make it a little bit bigger here. Right. That way I'm not doing my trees over my sky when it's still wet. So I'm going to come down to the table, but I think I want to make my mug a little bit big.
Sky, did you blend blue and white?
I did. Sorry, I did. I put blue and white together to make my sky. And, you know, you can even add a little bit of red in there if you want to make it kind of purpley as well. And I know I'm doing mine on my table, and hopefully I don't make a giant mess, but I wanted to make it easy so you guys could see, and that's why I brought my document camera instead of trying it a different way. I thought this would be a lot easier. I do this with my kids at school, and it works out really well. Might even bring this down a little bit lower too. Just so my table's not so ginormous. I do just get some on my table. That's what's great about paint. You can always change your mind. This paintbrush has a nice thick edge to it, so I can almost use it to trim. I'm gonna bring it down just a little bit more, just so I have more room for my trees. And I don't remember what your guys' blue looks like, so my blue is probably way off from yours, and it's having a hard time focusing because of my hand. So yeah, if you hear noises in the background, my husband just got home from work, so he's talking to my daughter. Okay, so once you even have your sky in there, it had snow around it as well. And before we've used like the backs of our paintbrushes and dipped it in the white and kind of added the snow that way. So you have that choice if you want to as well. And then it has the trees on both sides here. So I'm kind of getting a little bit in my mug, but that's okay because I can always go back and fix that later. And it doesn't have to be perfect, does it, child?
I like a sky too.
You like my light? Oh, and don't forget, you got to paint inside the handle here too. I almost forgot that.
Why are you painting inside my handle?
Because there's sky back there. Okay, look, you can see right through the handle, right? Okay, that's why. I know to ignore my line. I do not have an eraser, but that's okay. I can always paint over that. Okay. So we have our sky in there, and then like I said, you can go in, and if you want, you can add some snowflakes in there with the tip or the back of your paintbrush. That always seems to be a quick trick, and then kind of just make dabs. Yeah, make snowflakes. So you can put as many or as little as you want. These snowflakes. Oh, good Lord.
Hey, Dad.
I had Christmas music playing, but I didn't want to interfere with talking. And then I got my husband back there making comments. Okay. Everybody with me so far? As I was saying, the next step, I'm going to just paint my windowsill, table, whatever it is that the mug is sitting on at the bottom here while this dries. And then I'll probably have to go to the mug next. And since in here it had the table as brown, the hot chocolate is brown as well. So you can just paint these both at the same time. And to make brown, if you want this to be brown, you can mix the 3 primary colors to get brown. It just depends on the color that you really want it to be. And then to lighten it up, you can add in a little bit more white. And it's been a while since I've done this, so I'm gonna test it out first to see the mixture that I want to get in there, because I feel like it needs to have more yellow in it, or it's more blue. It's one of those two. I don't think it's the red. So I'm just gonna test it by doing a little bit of each to start to see what I can get. And this is so different than having this in class because I can't see what you guys are creating. I feel like I'm just talking to myself here. Look at this.
What's this?
It looks nice. It's not very chocolatey. We need more chocolate. See, it's very yellow. So it needs more chocolate.
Why does it need more chocolate?
Because hot chocolate is brown. See, this is really brown. This is like really yellow, this table. I want it to be more chocolatey. How do you make it more chocolatey? What do you think I need to add?
More. Think you need a little bit more yellow.
You think more yellow? I think it's too yellowy.
A little bit more. Yeah.
Put more in there? I think I need to add the more red almost. That's almost too red now. It's not very chocolatey. What do you think? It's very, very hard to get the right mixture in there. That's not too bad. It's almost like mocha. It needs to be darker. I think we decided that blue made it darker. I think that have to be darker.
And I'm just doing little dabs.
We need it darker. I put too much white with it, I think.
Oh,
It's almost too green. It's too much blue. You think?
yeah.
What do you think? Oh, that's almost a happy medium for me. I'm gonna use my, I think it's the 2-inch paintbrush. Don't quote me on that. For filling in this area. Yeah, it's got a lot of blue in it. To make brown, you need blue.
No.
Oh, it almost.
That.
Oh, my water turned blue. Smurf water. Except for this is really, really runny.
Too bluey.
You're right. It is too bluey. I'm getting there, Charlie.
Bluey, bluey, bluey.
I'd start with one of these. One
Moving the
dab.
camera. You need to stop.
Mine's still pretty good.
Okay, this color is not matching up with what's on my screen. It's a little bit different than what you guys probably are seeing, than what I'm seeing. My line isn't entirely all that straight, but that's okay.
I think your blue. Your brown is kind of in the blue.
You think it's in my blue?
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
I think it's in your sky.
I think it's in my sky. It's okay. We're gonna fix that, so don't worry about it.
Oh.
Okay, and painting on a table isn't always the most ideal plan.
Yeah. But be
I
better
have
on
nowhere
that
to,
too.
I have nowhere to hold it.
If you don't pick it up, be better. It's very stuffy.
All right, does anybody have any questions so far about any of this? The original painting kind of almost had some like streaks in it to almost kind of make it look like it's a wood grain. And then it also made it a little bit darker around the bottom of it to give it almost a bit of shadow as well. So that's just up to you if you choose to do that or not. I'm just going to take my paintbrush and give it some horizontal strokes just so that they're all facing the same direction.
Mine looks forest green. Oh, it does. Huh. I would say add more yellow.
Which is kind of hard for you guys to see. That's having a hard time really focusing in on this thing.
That's when I think it's enough.
You think it's good?
Yeah. I think it's very nice.
If I can get it to stop moving on me, that would be great. Okay, so, and then don't forget to add in your chocolate into your mug. It does leave some space so that you can, the chocolate doesn't go all the way to the top of the mug, so it leaves the rim that you can still see. So that's one thing that it what did not have on the drawing. But if you want to draw, just so that you don't accidentally put too much chocolate into it, you give yourself some room to paint the mug. You're getting too close here, dear. Because I just about forgot about that. We'll leave some space. You're gonna have chocolate all over your table. Okay.
Oh, Mom,
Yes, dear.
you forgot to try marshmallows. You don't leave any room for marshmallows.
The marshmallows are gonna be added later. We'll do those later. That's like one of the last things that we can do. Okay. Thank you for making that comment. My daughter was asking about the marshmallows. She said I didn't leave room for them. If you want to add marshmallows, you can do that. But those will be like the last final details, would be adding the marshmallows and then adding the steam to the top of it.
Like, oh, this part is like,
Yes, beautiful.
I got.
I don't know why that's there, but. Okay. Everybody doing okay so far? We have our sky, we have our table, and our chocolate and our mug. So it's starting to look pretty filled in here. I don't know how dry your guys' sky is to put your trees in here, but mine's fairly dry enough, maybe not entirely all that dry. So we're gonna go in and paint the mug right here, and then maybe by the time that we're done with here, we'll be able to get some trees in here. All right, and the trees are green anyways, so on top of the blue, it's really gonna be okay if you get some of the blue in there, because green has blue in it, so it's gonna, that'll be okay. The mug is red on the original painting, but you guys can choose whatever color that you want. So that's really up to you what you want on there. And then even like our final details, you can put all kinds of different decorations on your mug. I've also seen some that had some like candy canes or other things on the table for other decorations as well. So that's something you guys can think about too. I'm just gonna go ahead and do red because that's what we have. And for this one, you can still use your, the big paintbrush. I can get mine cleaned off here. To block that in, and it's very, very wet. Okay, that would help. Okay.
Should do candy canes on there. You should like do snowflakes and candy canes. Okay.
Good idea. This was up to my daughter. She would have me put everything on there. I am going to, because this mug is touching everything else, I'm just gonna block it in there, and then I'm gonna go back in with my finer paint, my smaller paintbrushes to get those edges and everything as clean as I can. So I'm gonna use my thinnest paintbrush to go around my edges here, and I'm gonna use my finger to hold my canvas so it doesn't move on me.
My piano is underneath. Oh, what it is on my table.
My daughter is critiquing my painting over here. Apparently she thinks she is an artist.
That's because you are so scary. Okay. No. Go.
And there's options that if you want to make it a little bit more three-dimensional, that they added in some highlights and some value to the mug. So that's where, if you can notice, it's a little bit darker back here, and they have some white highlights here just to make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. And they did it around the handle as well, and then the curve where they attaches the handle to the mug, and then some a little bit on the sides and the bottom. You don't have to do that. Hopefully my hey, tell your dad. You don't have to do that. That's just a choice and kind of like an added detail.
I told him to turn it off. So like he said it isn't messing with computer.
Oh, okay.
So I told him, yeah, there was this type of thing that popped up.
Okay, I'm gonna test my sky here, just so I can see about kind of getting that in there. Because I know how amazing it is watching somebody sit here and paint. So before I finish this, I'm just gonna kind of talk about how to get those trees in there. I'm just gonna finish this side of my handle over here because in the original painting, I went through and looked at it, and I can tell that they painted the tree first and then did the mug, because the tree goes through the handle. So that's really up to you how big you want yours to be, you know, how tall. I think it would just been better to make the fatter tree over here for my option and made a smaller one over here. But so that's probably what I'm gonna have to do, just so that it doesn't mess up with this. I'm doing it a little bit differently just so that we have time for everything to dry, because I'm not gonna sit there and make you guys wait for everything to dry. But it is tacky enough that I'm gonna start putting a tree over here, and I am gonna put a smaller tree on this side just so that I don't have to worry about getting it up and behind there. And they have these, a half a tree on this side, and this one's more of a full tree. But if you notice, it's this like sheer curtains right here, so it's covering that up. That's another option. If you want, you can add that. Those are just details that whoever painted this, they just decided that those are the details that they wanted to add. So it kind of is almost distracting to me, so I'm not going to add it to mine. I'd rather see those trees back there. And I don't know which side I painted on first, but the trees, I want to, what's that? I want to use my big paintbrush, but I'm going to kind of pull off some of this paint from it so that I don't have so much on there. Okay. And we have painted trees before in the past, so it's just going to be a couple simple techniques with a paintbrush to get it on there. And if you want, you can add the snow on top, and the snow will just be using kind of the tip of your paintbrush to get that on there. So your green, you're just adding in blue and yellow to create the green tree. And it just depends on how much each color you add as to how dark or light your tree color is. You want to have less yellow in it because it's going to appear, the more yellow it is, it's not really an evergreen color. And my colors are a little bit different than yours too as well. So I just mixed yellow and blue, and I kind of have this green here. It's not really very evergreeny, but it'll work. All right, so I'm going to just use the tip of my paintbrush, and I'm just gonna kind of make these strokes going like this to fill it in. And I'll do that on both sides. Since the tree over here is half a tree and this one's a full tree, I'm gonna start on this side so you guys can actually see the kind of the idea of how I do it. So I basically just make strokes. I made that really fat. Fat tree.
That's okay.
It's okay, you're right. Kind of strokes just going back and forth this way to fill in my tree. And if you make them further apart like this, it kind of changes the style of the tree that it is. And I said I'm making a fatter one over here and a smaller one over here. So I'm actually gonna have it going off of my canvas a little bit. And all evergreen trees look different. So it's really, you know, up to your preference as to how yours comes out. But just making that stroke back and forth gives it the appearance that it's got a little bit more shape to it. And so just using the tip of your paintbrush and it'll get you all those kind of nice brush strokes to it. So you can kind of play around with how big or how small you want it. And it even had a stump underneath of it with some snow on the ground. All right, so I'll leave some room and I'll kind of just add in some snow here after a bit for detail. And then even, you know, add some snow to the branches. But it's just that quick technique of just taking a brush stroke back and forth, kind of in a diagonal motion to kind of get that feel to it. And the way that they did theirs is a little bit different, but it's still kind of that choppy brush stroke. I'm using a lot fatter paintbrush than they are, but it still gets the idea. Does anybody have questions so far on that? I'm gonna go ahead and add in my other tree, but are we okay with how everything's going out here so far? I know, like I was making the comment before, it's kind of hard to, I almost want my tree a lot taller. Kind of hard to judge how everybody's doing when I can't see all of your paintings. That's always the fun part, is seeing your guys' paintings as we do this.
Why?
Because everybody has their own different style, and it's always fun to see what everybody comes up with. You know?
Hey, everybody who's on here, when you're done, if you could take a picture and post it to our event, that'd be awesome.
That would be, I'd love to see them. So I'm just gonna make a little fat tree over here just because I got the room for it. And I'm pulling in some of my snow, so it's giving itself some snow. Oh, look at that. Okay. We can probably hide that for now. All right, and it is kind of hard to see, but it's in there, I promise. Okay, so while I'm doing that, I'm gonna go back and, now that I have those in there, I'm gonna go back and kind of finish up my mug so that it doesn't look so naked.
So naked.
It is. It's finished. Its skin is showing.
I don't know.
Mommy's being silly. It's okay.
These things. Where do I see your paper?
You can see my paintbrush.
Is the all of your paintbrushes and your water. And your water is kind of pinkish.
It is pink.
I thought it was purple pink.
Kind of is. Ow! Oh my. Okay, and so this is a mug through a window, and to kind of give it more of the idea that it's, you know, looking through the window and the mug isn't, you know, outside, it has the panes of the window, and it's really up to you where you want yours to go. In the print out, they made them a little bit different, and their mug's even bigger too. But really just an idea of where you would want them laid out. They did it a little bit off to the center. So it's, you know, up to you to put those on there, but it would be over the top of your trees and behind the mug. But that just gives it a little bit more of the depth to it to get that feeling. So that's one of the next details to get in here. That's why I make sure you get the trees in first. Our little happy snowy trees. What, dear? I don't know. It's okay. So we'll have the window pane and details on the mug, the marshmallows, and some steam coming out. So those are the final details to this. Hopefully you guys are doing all right and this is coming together. Pick something fairly easy, knowing that we're not really together in person. So hopefully we're all doing all right. Oh, and then I forgot my snow under here, my trees too. So we've got all of those details in white. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the window paints, and then I'm gonna go with all my details in white because there's snow on the windows as well. That way I'm doing all my details in white at the same time. Okay, so my next detail was gonna be adding in my brown on my window pane, and I'm gonna add some brown for my stumps as well. So that's the last of the brown, and then everything else will be in white. All right, and then it has white details on the mug. You guys can use whatever color you prefer. And like I said, you can add whatever you want on there. It's got snowflakes. And then if you want to add other details too, like I mentioned, the candy cane, maybe you could put a little cookie on there. Maybe it's Santa's mug with Santa's cookie and it's Christmas Eve. It's your painting, so you guys get to decide that. Okay, and I just happen to have some of my brown left. I'm gonna use my, well, we'll see, my medium size. Well, I might be able to I'll use my big paintbrush because I can use the edge of it for this and get one nice thick line and try to get it as horizontal and even as possible. Because if I use a smaller paintbrush, the chances of me getting it a little wonky are going to be a little bit greater. Okay, and it doesn't have to be the same brown as the rest of the browns that you've used. So if you ran out, that's okay. I thought I had some, but I don't. I did run out. Okay. Zoom only goes for 45 minutes, so I've got about 10 minutes left. So I'm gonna try and get the rest of this in here as best as I can. If you guys have questions, as always, just you can post it in the chat or just let me know. But I'm gonna go ahead and add in my window panes with my brown. So I mixed it again, and it's going to, I'm gonna put it right through this tree and then just right down my mug. I'm a little cautious about doing this. I'm gonna do this vertical line first because I just painted my tree. Okay, so let me just go for it. And if it's a wonky line, you can just tell yourself it's an old house and the window panes are wonky. Okay, it's probably a little bit thicker than I needed it to be, but that's okay. And I kind of have to stand up to do this. It's brown. And if I pull some of my snow on there, it's okay because there's actually snow on the window pane anyways. And since it's brown, even if you pull up some of the green from the tree, it's gonna cover it up. The lines that I have, I might go back and clean them up with my smaller paintbrush here too as well. It almost makes it look like a present, but that. Okay, and since I have my brown, I'm gonna give some stumps to my trees down here, a little bitty stump. And so that's the last of the brown. I'm gonna go grab my white and get some finishing touches to this. Okay. We doing all right, everybody? The marshmallows are what I'm gonna grab for next here. So it has the marshmallows and it has them 3-dimensional. So if you wanna try that, you can, but you really could just draw an oval or a circle and you're still gonna get the idea that they're marshmallows. And the way that they did them so that they're 3-dimensional is kind of like the mug. So they drew an oval and then they drew lines down into the hot chocolate. And then they added it darker with some value around the bottom so that it's makes it look more 3-dimensional. I'm just gonna make some ovals with mine. I'm not gonna go that far out on it. It's still gonna give you the idea that it's a marshmallow, even if it's not a fat, chunky marshmallow. Okay. And it's got 4, but you guys can choose the size that you want. You guys can choose how many. All right. But I do like even numbers. So we'll see. Okay. So there's my little marshmallows floating in my hot chocolate. Okay. And so we have snow on the window pane. We have snow on the trees, some steam coming out of the mug, and any details that you want to put on your mug. All right. I'm going to go with the snow on the trees since I just painted my window pane. And that way, if I put white on this now, I might drag some of my brown, and I don't really want brown in my white. So I'm just going to kind of just add some, with my smallest paintbrush, just add some lines here on the top of my trees here, my branches. Just a little bit here and a little bit there. All right, looks good. And then, oh, I forgot, we got snow underneath our tree. So snow on the ground. So you can take your white, add some snow underneath your trees. Okay. I'm really interested what kind of details I want on my mug. We'll go ahead and we'll just make snowflakes. So these are 6-pointed snowflakes, and these snowflakes have points on the end of them as well. But snowflakes come in so many different varieties that none of them are the same, and that's what makes them so much fun. I love drawing snowflakes. I got a creeper over here. All right, does anybody have any questions so far? Is everybody keeping up okay? Trying not to speed through it, but I want to make sure that I get everything on the video as I'm recording this. And I really do pray that this is still recording. Okay, so it has some points on the ends. of the, there it popped up. I was waiting for it to pop. Okay, it's still recording. Ah, we do have chats and I missed those, hopefully. We will share this video. So once we've completed it, we will get it posted. We did have that question. Okay, so there's that one. And then I'm gonna add in, now that my brown's had a little bit of time to dry, just has some snow right here in the corners where it would pile up. And then kind of along the window pane and a little bit more on the edges. So I'm still using my small paintbrush for this. All right, rounding up here. And then we have our steam coming out of our mug. This white is still, okay. And it uses kind of curly steam and it's got 3 of them coming out. So I will use my small paintbrush still for this one as well. So this is a choice if you want to add the steam. It's not, if you don't feel like you want to, you do not have to. I'm almost feeling going this way. And since it's steam, it doesn't have to be perfectly white, so it can be a little bit transparent in some areas, and it's still going to kind of give that effect. Touching up my, okay, so feeling how I want to do this.
And do the candy canes.
Okay. Apparently, I have a request to do candy canes, so that's going to have to be a later time, not right now. Okay. And then I'm going to do, that's not really where I wanted that, but we're going to make it work. I'm going to make one right here, going down. Okay. So those are those final touches to it. If you want, like I said, you can add in some highlights in some areas to make things a little bit more three-dimensional. So, you know, kind of around the edge of the mug here, kind of give it some highlights, or around the rim here. You can give it some highlights to add in some three-dimensionality to it, and then even darken up around here as well. I'm going to just kind of keep adding a little bit more to my fat snowflakes. Okay, do we have any other questions as we're kind of coming to the close of our time here on recording of this? These are the, like I said, these are the last touches to it. So I'm going to make sure I have my chat pulled up. I know I was trying not to go quick, but I knew I was kept looking at the clock and I was hoping that it wouldn't cut off on me on my recording. So you guys are always able to go back and record this. I just know that Zoom only goes for 45 minutes and I started right about 7:40 or around 7. So it still says it's going. So I don't remember quite the time that I started on that. Hopefully it'll tell me if it stops. Okay. Is there anything I need to go back on with anybody that's on here with me? Any other pieces that you might have missed? as I just took mine. Yes. All right, so we have, okay. I feel like I want to add some snow on top of my trees. Or a little bit later. I'm just kind of going back and then touching up some areas on mine here.
What's really driving the 3% is there's still not a fair amount of vaccine hesitancy. Something else that Dr. mentioned. 50 people back in September they take the vaccine. Now it's up to 60%, but that's still, it's not high enough. And I think that making sure that that regulatory process is not being shortcut here is really important. And that's why we've been saying so long.
All right, I'm going to stay on in case you guys do have questions, but since that's all that I had for the video, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.